If you look at play out the dots here, David Axelrod goes and visits.
Oh my
the Pope
God, the
last
arrogance
week.
of this.
Are
There's
you not
a
going to let me
billion
finish?
Catholics
Let
in
me
the
finish,
world.
please.
They're all worried
Let me
about Trump's
finish.
election in the
Okay.
midterms.
Clearly,
All
I'm
right,
striking a chord here.
Let's let him finish the thought. and then
David
we can
Axelrod
respond.
goes and visits Pope Leo last week. They're talking about Obama going to visit Pope Leo. Pope Leo's from Chicago. All of a sudden, now Pope Leo is out attacking Trump and the policies of the United States and Israel.
All
in
of
a
a
way,
sudden?
well, in a much more forceful way. You have 3 cardinals come out today attacking the immigration policy. This is all about trying to get the Catholic vote against Trump. And
Hi guys, you're welcome to the Dixon's View. The disagreement between the Pope and the President of the United States of America has taken a new turn. Even after the Pope was cited in the mosque calling for Christians and Muslims to coexist, and it has raised a lot of criticism across the world, where a lot of people had made it known that the Pope's way is not clear to other Christians and other Catholics as well, because it is believed that the Muslims do not like to coexist with the Christians, and taken to the disagreement between him and the President of the United States of America, where the President accused the Pope of being in support of Iran to own a nuclear weapon. Let's watch this video together of others analyzing what the Pope has done, including creating a prayer room in the Vatican for Muslims, which has raised a wide condemnation across the world.
Augustine developed the just war theory of the Catholic Church. The Pope is kneeling there at the tomb of the man who formulated the just war theory, while the president is critiquing this Pope. And the president is saying it is a just war. The Pope is saying it's not. So I'm just really struck by the fact that you have the Pope visiting the poorest countries in Africa, the most war-torn regions, really being a follower of Christ, and you have a president who's depicting himself as actually being Christ. It's very ironic to me.
Look, this is 100% political, okay? This is all about trying to hurt President Trump's Catholic vote during the midterms and Republicans during the midterms. If you look at play out the dots here, David Axelrod goes and visits.
Oh my
the Pope
God, the
last
arrogance
week.
of this.
Are
There's
you not
a
going to let me
billion
finish?
Catholics
Let
in
me
the world.
finish,
They're
please.
all worried
Let me
about Trump's
finish.
election
Are you
in the
gonna-
midterms.
Clearly,
All
I'm
right,
striking a chord here.
Let's let him finish the thought. and then
David
we can
Axelrod
respond.
goes and visits Pope Leo last week. They're talking about Obama going to visit Pope Leo. Pope Leo's from Chicago. All of a sudden, now Pope Leo is out attacking Trump and the policies of the United States and Israel.
All
in
of
a
a
way,
sudden?
well, in a much more forceful way. You have 3 cardinals come out today attacking the immigration policy. This is all about trying to get the Catholic vote against Trump. And let me add one more thing.
There's a lot of flaws in this argument.
gonna
No,
succeed.
there's no
They're gonna
flaws.
succeed.
There's no flaws.
Including that none of the things that you're
Axelrod is the
describing
chief
as
strategist
new
for
are
Obama.
new.
He's also from
They're
Chicago,
not.
but
The
that's not
Pope
why
is
he
saying
went.
he's not political. Why is he meeting with the chief strategist for both Obama's campaigns
he's from
and in the White House?
Chicago.
The Pope
Oh,
Francis,
really?
hold on a
Yes.
second.
Would he have a possible reason to meet with a
But
chief
hold on a
political
J.D.
second.
Vance met with the Pope
And
before the last
Francis,
one died.
exactly.
What was he
Pope
doing
Francis
there?
met with J.D. Vance. Pope Francis was extremely critical.
J.D. Vance
of-
is Vice President of the United States.
Hold on a second. Pope Francis was extremely critical of Trump. He was extremely critical of the immigration rhetoric from Trump and his allies. He still met.
Let me add
with
one more thing
J.D.
that Pope
Vance.
Leo's
So
not critical
what's
of.
the conspiracy?
Let me ask you this.
What's
Why
the
has Pope Leo
conspiracy?
been, when Iran killed 30,000 plus of their own citizens, he didn't call out the Iranian regime at all. He said we need to stop violence. That was very milquetoast. That wasn't calling out the Iranian regime, and yet he's calling out the United States and Israel.
let me let
Because
Father
war
Beck
is
respond
never
to
the
that.
solution. Jesus was a peacemaker.
But he didn't
Blessed
call out the
are
Iranian
the
regime.
peacemakers, he said. He's not taking sides in this. He's trying to live the gospel message and preach it.
This is
It's as simple as
fascinating.
that.
This is a fascinating conversation because I
It's
just
political.
Because like in the South, we have this saying in church that say, "He ain't done with me yet." So I'm going to start by prefacing that. Like I have a long way to go in my journey and walk. However, to take a side and to actually have first an issue where you attack the Pope takes a certain level of arrogance, which the Bible teaches you against. And then when you have someone who has 5 baby mamas by 3 wives out here on one side against someone who is actually preaching the gospel on the other side, and we're sitting here saying it's political, the audacity of that.
So let me. I have to play this because he ain't done with President Trump yet, either. This is just a sampling of over the years.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal.
Even to cite a verse that
No,
you like.
I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. We're going to protect Christianity. 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ball.
Trump's going to execute 4 more protesters, reportedly, including the first woman protester. What do you tell Iran?
Well, tell that to the Pope. What did you say? Tell that to the Pope.
You want to patch things up with the Pope?
That Iran is going to. Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman? I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say? What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism
You
of
can't
the
have, look, nothing. I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up, and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it. Protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that.
Well, as you can see from that interview, it is very clear. But firstly, don't forget that the president is not a fan of CNN, and neither is CNN a fan of the president, President Trump. The president says that he doesn't support the Pope. He doesn't encourage what the Pope supports, like wanting Iran to own a nuclear arm. And it's very clear, no leader, no great leader would want his enemy to own a disastrous weapon that could be used for mass destruction. This is political, and this is something only the government can do, not a religion leader. The president, the Pope rather, should concentrate in explaining to the world what are his aim and objective, not telling us that he's preaching peace. That is not how to preach peace. I would really love to know what are your thoughts as well in the comment section.